I figured, what the hell? Nashville, right off the top at 9 o'clock Eastern, right before we had our rundown squared away. And Tyler's coming in at 9:15. And it is the Summer of Soccer rundown for Wall Pass Wednesday. Tyler at 9:15. Nino Torres, Gold TV at 10. And Niko Moreno joining us because we're sliding everything since there is no show tomorrow, 10:35. Nashville. B.J. Callahan is the new head coach. Came out at the top of the hour. Here are the headlines in the news release. Joining on July 22nd ahead of Leagues Cup. Second head coach in club history, brings wealth of domestic and international coaching experience. And also what they have for Callahan. Successful in the development of national team players such as Brendan Aronson, Mark McKenzie, among others. Familiarity with current senior Nashville SC players through M&T and Philadelphia Union connection. Tyler Boyd, Dan Lovett, Shaq Moore, Taylor Washington, and Walker Zimmerman. So B.J. Callahan, Jarrett, is now the new head coach in Nashville, and he gets to walk into that particular situation. I'm trying to see if there's any particular quotes. Mike Jacobs has a paragraph. Callahan has a paragraph, or it's more like a sentence. 2 sentences from Callahan. Callahan's tenure with U.S. Soccer began in 2019 as a strategy analyst before being promoted to assistant coach, and mentions the appointment since his appointment, what they've done since. Interim head coach of the M&T last summer, 2023 CONCACAF Nations League Championship, semifinal round of the Gold Cup. Assistant coach in Major League Soccer under Jim Curtin with Philadelphia, club he originally joined in 2012 as an academy coach. And that's where we are. B.J. Callahan, one off the board, Jared.
One off the board. Don't know what to really think about it. Like my experience with Callahan is him, in the interim role for the U.S. national team, which I thought he did well. Which is, the interim role is always kind of a thankless thing, and it's always kind of hard to judge because you just kind of keeping the ship afloat, and there's only so much you can take out of it. Like you can get bulk hero status real damn quick if you interim a job. And you don't if you take over a job on an interim basis, change the oil, rotate the tires, keep the fluids up.
Yep.
You can get cult status real damn quick. I know he's done a lot of assistant work, so I'm not going to sit here and say he's the right hire or the wrong hire, or they should have done this or they should have done that. I know there was the somebody firing off stuff about rumors with USL managers yesterday, just completely out of the ether, which is something we can talk about next time John is on. For USL
well, I mean, we also talked about it 2 weeks ago as to who might be ready from that level. So they were just stealing our show content.
Yeah, but it's been it's kind of been rumored about. I think that this was something that might happen, that Callahan might be that guy. Good on him. I hope he does okay. I won't wish him the best because then Atlanta.
Yeah, you can do great against most teams, but not all.
Some teams.
Yeah, some.
I want the belt. I want that belt.
Yeah.
Y'all might think the belt is stupid. I want the belt. I want that Southeastern belt. But yeah, I want to see how it shakes out. I want to get a better idea of what his, because he's had to do the interim thing. You can only implement so much stuff when you're an interim for a national team, where you don't have them every day to implement style. You can get them up for it and get them in the right headspace. Seemed like he did a good job of that. I want to see stylistically, what this looks like. We'll see. But hey, good on Nashville. They got their guy. I'm surprised it's the end of July that he's joining. He's not sooner, but I wonder if it's putting the staff together. finishing out what they've got right now, because Nashville's kind of been, I think, up and down. Ever since Gary was gone, and Gary Voice departed this
he hasn't
earthly realm.
He hasn't departed the show. It's just it's going to have to be done stylistically, and we got to pick our spots.
It is. So yeah, man, we'll see. We'll see what it looks like for Nashville. We'll see how the style changes, because there was so much about what they were doing that confused the hell out of us, John. Like, Gary Ball is, man, it's pretty damn aggressive.
It's damn aggressive, Jarrett.
It's not a shot at Gary. By all accounts, one of the finest humans you will deal with. Like,
absolutely,
very incredibly well thought of as a person, and well spoken of as a person. But I mean, it's in this era where everyone has realized that maybe, like, Wilfred Nancy has a good idea. Maybe positional play might be something worth exploring. Maybe a lot of counter pressure. Maybe like pressure with the ability to play with the ball at their feet, a la what Red Bulls are now. Not Red Bulls from like 2 years ago, but like Red Bulls now.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's fun. Like, maybe that's how you can really make a dent. The thing was, you were doing that, and you had a second team that was headed up by Jack Collison, who was one step away from being one of Morton Joe's war boys when it came to insanity in terms of his ideas. And I love Jack.
Yeah.
I love Jack's ideas because they're insane. It was just such a weird setup that you had in Nashville going into April of this year when Jack was relieved of duties or left, or the phrasing on that was so ambiguous. God only knows what the conversations were like.
Yeah.
I want to see what Callahan does stylistically to see what's different, and to see kind of if Nashville changes up the identity a bit. Because I think it was Sam Sturridge talked about it. I don't like sitting behind the ball. Like, buddy, why'd you go to Nashville then?
Exactly. Yeah.
You or your agent dropped the ball, man.
You got paid, but you ain't getting paid to play the ball that you thought you were getting into. Somebody kind of withheld info here.
Yeah. Evening, Bam. We haven't talked about the fact that the U20s, like the T20 World Cup ended, and South Africa and England both went home sad. So I hope you can take a little bit of solace in that.
There you go.
South Africa low-key choked.
Yes. We've reached out to Lucas Panzica. We'll see if Lucas can join us first thing Friday morning as we get ready for the weekend. This is literally everything is coming together on this show because it is schedule compression. It's a holiday Thursday. We were lucky to get our guests to slide from Thursday to today.
Well, and then Nashville dropped the head coaching announcement.
Yeah, so nothing going on this morning at all. VAR got screwy again last night in the Copa. Well, we'll talk to Nino about that coming up at 10. We can drop that with Niko in the last half hour of the show. We might have special guests in the last half hour of the show. And now, as it traditionally is on a Wall Pass Wednesday in this particular time slot, from his new studio space, I need like the special reverb of, the special announcements and things.
Well, Tyler, just get the graphic from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Not any of these trashy-ass remakes, but like the Gene Wilder.
Yeah, you got to do the Gene Wilder one.
Where they go through the tunnel, and it's all the colors and effects, and it's right out of an Alan Parsons production.
And then all of a sudden, I appear.
Yes.
Like the color, like rainbows start changing frequencies. We start getting real low in the audio frequency where it starts to give certain people migraines and other people euphoric situations. And then Tyler just appears out of nowhere. Yeah, that's what we need.
Howdy.
You get the Anne Hathaway voice from the movie where she was what was the $1 billion company that
Theranos?
Yeah. Then she's like she wants to fire the guy
Holmes, I think.
Yeah, for wearing shoes in her office and having it as an alternate conference meeting, and she gets that really low voice. We need to start.
There's a very fun Behind the Masters episode about her. It's like a two-parter.
So yeah, you get those low voices and things like that. And so Tyler, you are repping as you always do, the scarves in Spike's mug, etc., 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 as you should.
Yeah.
But the news is broken this morning as BJ Callahan is now the new head coach up in Nashville. He's going to start just before Leagues Cup. He's got a couple of weeks to move everybody from wherever he is currently residing and get the moving vans to figure out where he's going to live, if he's going to live on Broadway or not. But he's going to be there just before Leagues Cup. So BJ Callahan.
Morgan Wallen.
Yes.
I was going to say, watch out for falling chairs.
Fallen furniture. BJ Callahan, make sure that you do not live right there. Live on the Nissan Stadium side of things. And
short-lived tenure for BJ Callahan.
Yeah, so Callahan is now the new head coach in Nashville. That is one vacancy off the board.
My favorite part of that press release that they put out from U.S. Soccer anyway was the plan has been there for him to move all along I guess whenever Copa America was over. And it kind of feels like whoever wrote that email was not expecting to be writing that email at this point in time.
That makes so much more sense now.
Yep.
I was telling John, I was like, it seems kind of like a weird time to announce it now, but then telling he's not taking over until Leagues Cup. Everything makes more sense. I didn't get that USA press release. This is why we pay you the big bucks. Thank you.
Yes. The man checked all of his emails before drifting into the show this morning.
I was on one today.
Yeah,
somebody's got to be.
Exactly. Somebody's got to be the mature one of the three of us here. So we now are the Palace intrigue involving Nashville and how they will be approaching things philosophically. Does Callahan bring his – God, all I can think of is Dirty Harry and like Hal Holbrook being mad now. Does Callahan bring his Philadelphia Union-ness to Nashville, considering how they kind of play right now? Or does he sit there and look at the resources he has and free things up? And does he bring in a free Sam Surridge sign to his press conference? How does you wonder how this is going to be now for BJ Callahan when he takes over in Nashville philosophically?
I think he has to loosen them up a little bit. I think maybe that's the one downside of what was implemented there for so long before, is that it was a very one-dimensional, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but a one-dimensional kind of squad, the way it was built.
It was one-dimensional.
They brought in Surridge, right, as like the guy to help out their MVP goal scorer, because it's kind of what happens when you're the only guy scoring goals.
You need help to have some fun.
Yeah, you need some time off, first of all, but also like you can't look good all the time. Eventually other teams are going to adapt and say, we should probably like just mark that guy out of the game. And defensively, I mean, they've fallen off. So I don't know a ton about BJ Callahan's coaching style other than what we saw like with the US, and then of course Philly has had their style forever. I don't know that he's going to be able to get it done with what he has right now, though. I think they're going to have to get through this summer transfer window, maybe even the next one, and then he can start to put his stamp on things. But I think you have to look at it the way Rob is doing things in Atlanta right now. You can't go in trying to tweak a whole bunch of stuff. You just have to make do with what you have, maybe change up positions a little bit, change up the tactics just a little bit, and don't make any wholesale changes.
Yeah, I'm gonna check the salary, the contract structure here coming up in just a little bit to see what's going on. But and I know that we were looking, Jarrett and I were kind of looking a couple weeks ago at some of the other openings, the ones out west and the ones that have interims and things like that. But yes, the Palace intrigue with BJ Callahan is definitely there for all of us that want to make sure that Atlanta United keeps the Southeastern Regional Heavyweight Championship, here, in the gateway city of the South. So
that's right. Throw the belt.
You got to have the belt.
Yep.
David's like Fring Mukhtar and Schaffelberg sounds exciting and scary, Jared.
For both parties, though, like for Nashville and for whoever they play, like we've seen one of my favorite things is watching the seller's remorse of Toronto fans, knowing that they had Chief Schaffelberg and they just kind of let it go.
Yeah, that's a you problem.
Because they had, but
going through cells.
Nashville hasn't exactly been sturdy at the back. Nashville hasn't exactly been very sturdy, but you let them loose. Maybe they do more on the offensive side, but like you open that game up, I don't know if Nashville, and to Tyler's point, it's going to take the summer window, maybe the winter window. I don't know if the way Nashville is constructed right now, if they can play a wide open game. Because I don't know if they're quick enough. I don't know if they're technical enough in the moments, like in the middle, to play that kind of game consistently. Like, yeah, you go through like a week of like, hey, this was really fun. I don't know if they can do it consistently right now, and maybe that's something Callahan comes in and is like, hey, give me a window or two to get some guys in who can do what I want to do. Maybe we open up more because, yeah, like those kind of attacking guys. And Hani Mukhtar, he's not the – I don't know if he's the Hani Mukhtar from 2-3 years ago. And not to say that he's fallen off and he's trash, but he's not single-handedly carrying them through games at this point. And, yeah, some of it, Tyler's right. Some of it, you can mark him out. You have to, because he was the only guy who was a threat. What are you going to do, bring back the ghost of Akelova?
Yeah, there was transfer news involving him the other day.
I laughed at that. I got a good kick out of that.
Yep. Here's your 24s. Willis, Kallman, Sean Davis, Daniel Lovitz, Todd Bryan-Anunga, Jack Mayer, Alex Muil, Amar Sadich, Julian Gaines, Drew Yearwood, Josh Bauer, Elliot Panico, Lucas McNaughton, currently injured, Joey Skinner, Forster Ajago. That's the end of the 2024 calendar year contracts that you've got to figure out. Walker's there for another year. Shaq's there for another year. Hani's there through the end of the 26 calendar year. So is Surridge and Schaffelberg. 27s are Sipich and Isaiah Jones, your youngins that you have that are 18. So coming into a situation where you got a lot to think about and trying to figure out how you want to who's keeping and who's staying. It literally is the scene at the end of The Secret of My Success where Fred Gwynn is at the end of the table. You know, some of you.
I think, you know, out of all those names, look, Alex Moyle, that Jonas brother looking guy, he can go. Amar Sadich, I love Amar, and I really do think, like, if I'm BJ Callahan, honestly, right now, Amar Sadich is one that I'm putting in somewhat consistently, not to do anything specialized, but I think if you're going to get anything else out of this team right now, it's going to be you just disrupting other teams. You have to go in and just annoy. They don't have the team to go and do a high press. They don't have the team that's going to be able to really hit on the counter. They don't have the team that's going to do anything super physical for 90 minutes. So I think you have to go into this, again, pragmatic. I keep using that freaking word over the past 2 weeks, but you have to take what you have and, yeah, just be a disrupting team. Like, you know, be annoying in the midfield, put numbers out on the wings when possible, and just don't get caught too high up the pitch.
But pragmatic, we know that here on this show, pragmatic can be a good word or a bad word. So, I mean, you can take it two different ways. Be pragmatic, be pragmatic. You know, hey, but pragmatic can you can sit there and put the negative connotation to it, or you can look at pragmatic and sit there and go, you know, okay, let's be realistic and not, you know, be extending outside of our own selves and try to be something that we're not. I think that's the good way to look at pragmatic. Yeah, I didn't think that we would be having a BJ Callahan Nashville SC discussion to have breaking news this morning.
I don't think U.S. Soccer did either.
No. So
at least as of Monday.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So
thanks a lot, Tim Weah.
Oh boy. All right. So since you opened that door, Jared, we'll go there. The things have not gone well for the USMNT, and we are probably waiting for the rest of the shoe cabinet to drop, not just for the other shoe, but for the entire cabinet to drop here. The front office is saying that they're going to evaluate. Obviously, Greg is going to sit there and say that, yes, I'm the guy that can keep everything solid going forward. The players said all the right things after the last match of the group stage that they did not get out of, and they're going to be watching the rest of the Copa like all of us. And I don't think how many of us had, actually, show of hands, that Canada would be the CONCACAF guest that made it into the knockouts. That's what I thought.
Hey, you get the job done.
Yeah.
Mexico, I agree that there was a very real world where we saw Mexico getting hit with a rake 3 times.
Yeah,
and they got hit with a rake 3 times.
Yeah, or stepping on it themselves, not even getting hit by it.
Yeah, that was some Looney Tunes crap for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it was the Robin Hood, Daffy Duck sliding down the tree line, zoinks it away, bang, that seemed like that was more Mexico than anything else. But from now that we've had a day to look at everything else, Tyler, with the USMNT, where is your head when it comes to where the USMNT is right now? I think that diminished returns lead itself into one direction. There's only so much a coach can do, but because he is the coach and the players didn't do it, I don't think you have much choice.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and try to make a whole bunch of parallels to the way Atlanta United was going, because this is not to say that I don't respect Greg Berhalter, but I respect Gonzalo Pineda a lot more. That maybe just because I know the guy, but I do think ultimately at this level, club football and country football, two different things. They're two different coaching styles. They're two different sets of things that you have to do behind the scenes. Greg Berhalter is not the guy that's going to elevate this team to the level that they need to be in 2 years. Period. And I've never been one of the people on Twitter. I've never been a Berhalter out guy. I've given him his I've given patience. I've watched. I've seen the way he handles his teams. People will say he's a great man manager. I think he's a great friend. I think there's a little bit lacking in terms of the discipline department. And, I know everybody's going to blame Tim Weah, as they rightfully should. That was stupid, just like Serginho Dest, a while back. Like, those are stupid things that you cannot allow yourself personally to get to the point where you do that. That should have been handled in a totally different way. I get retaliation. Retaliation in soccer is not best served cold. Revenge is not best served cold in soccer. You got to do it right then, while you have the attention of the ref, to try to put him on a different page. So going back to that match, I mean, that totally screwed up this entire group. That little action totally screwed up everything.
So you're saying rabbit punches are bad?
Yeah, you can't do that. I mean, yeah. I mean, maybe wait till after the game.
Rabbit punches that you get caught doing are bad.
Yes, true. Excellent.
Yeah, that's the key. Because I don't think the ref would have had a problem had Matt Turner gotten absolutely DDT'd like he did, and Tim Weah would have came over and Goldberg speared the player that did it. I forget his name at the time. Like, I mean, you got to do it right then. You got to have something to say right in the moment. So yeah, I mean, getting back on the Berhalter thing, no, I think you've got to move on, because you can't wait much longer, because it would be unfair to whoever you do bring in to give them a year, a year and a half to work on what is going to be the biggest tournament this country has ever seen and will ever see for a long time. So I just don't think Berhalter's the guy that's going to elevate the team. I like him. I do. But I just don't see him pushing this team beyond what they are now. I think you can find a coach out there that's going to elevate this team more than just the sum of its parts.
Okay, Jarrett. So who's
going to be an outstanding manager for the Scottish national team, and I am going to rip my eyes out of my skull.
Oh no!
I didn't say it.
No, but Bam is saying that he's going to stay. I think Bam is sitting there looking at round 3. It's like, no, they're going to let him go, then they're going to hire him back. So it's going to be like round 3.
That's one of the questions. Is you did what was it, 15 months worth of investigation last time before you
14.
decided to keep? Yeah, and I get some of that had to do with the fact that the Reynas went completely off the out of pocket, and
they broke the
all
script.
that process. I think that has to be considered when we talk about it. It took them 14 months last time. Well, a bunch of that was because Claudio Reyna turned into the ultimate soccer dad and extended that by a number of months by basically creating a cold war between himself and the Berhalter family. Still wildly unnecessary, but it kind of feels like, to draw that parallel even further, Tower, it kind of feels like the days after the Charlotte game. Like, this is that that was the window after the Charlotte game. That was that window with the international break coming up off of a tough rivalry loss to make a change for Atlanta. Coming off of a disappointing, you get grouped in Copa on your home soil. Now you've got a break before Nations League. It feels like it's that window to make a change, even if it's just an interim for the time being. But I can't help but feel a similar way for Greg that I do for Gonzalo, in that, man, it felt like Gonzalo was under the sword of Damocles for 3 weeks, a month, when he was in Atlanta at the end. It kind of feels that way for Greg, and part of me is in the camp of just drop the damn sword already. Like, the outside noise is deafening.
Yep.
The results weren't there, whether by his fault or not. It wouldn't be the first manager who gets fired for something like for players letting him down. It happens. That's just part of the job, and it's part of the gig. But at this point, man, it feels like it's been hanging over him. Don't let it keep hanging. Just like give the players some closure and an answer, and give the man an answer. Don't let him just twist in the wind for this long. If you're going to keep him, say so outright. Otherwise, just do it and go with an interim. He did it before. It's fine.
When you look at the words, we're going to I'm paraphrasing, but it's basically, we're going to look at everything and analyze everything, and then we'll come up with an answer. I know that you're looking at it from the perspective of, you've got some friendlies in, I think it's September. You got a couple back-to-back in September. And then I think that the end of these competitions and the Olympics, I think it gives you that runway where you can sit there and look at folks. And so I think that the longer that you wait in making a decision, a lot of folks are going to perceive this as, okay, you're not listening to us with the tiki torches and the pitchforks outside the door and everybody's banging on the door waiting for a decision. But I mean, I think that the best thing probably is to do something by the end of the week. Just don't do it on July 4th where you fire the USMNT.
Or do you? I mean, I kind of like that, actually.
As hell, man.
I think it'd be fun. Chaos. July 4th. We're free.
Yeah, independent. Today is our Independence Day. And
if U.S. Soccer plays the clip of President Bill Pullman and then announces Berhalter out, the app might actually break.
Yep. That would be amazing. Amazing.
Today is our Independence Day, and then
Randy Quaid pops up with the official announcement.
Like up yours,
I think looking at it from again, going back to the parallels, I think I would argue the U.S. is more time sensitive in finding a manager than Atlanta United is. And I know, again, club and country football are two different things, but you can make something work in club football. In the situation Atlanta's in right now, you can make it work. It's not fair for whoever does take over for them not to get things like these friends. I mean, the friendlies in September, that might be pushing it a little close. I get that. But I still think you've got to give whoever, not an interim, the guy, you've got to give the guy as many matches as you possibly can between now and 2026 to find out what he's really working with. Because, I mean, if you look at the women's team, I brought this up on our show last night, but
nicely done.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Emma Hayes came in and immediately, we know she's a no-nonsense manager, which is what a national team needs, because I think it's easy to get complacent in a national team. She comes in, and the one player that has won multiple tournaments, multiple big tournaments, multiple World Cups. And yes, Abby, or she, it could be whoever the person.
But I think your top contender is over with the women's national team.
Right. Exactly. But comes in and says, Alex Morgan, sorry, but you're not going to be the woman for this one. not because Alex isn't talented, not for any other reason, but I think it just has to come down to who is going to fit the tournament, pragmatic, better. And you've got a guy that was here for a long time and then not here for a long time, 14 months, and over $1 million later, and then came back. There's no way complacency didn't set in. You need a fresh set of eyes. You need a fresh set of people, not just a head coach, but a people to come in and say, yeah, maybe that guy that we've had for so long might not be the guy that needs to stay in the national team right now.
And eventually we are going to talk about Atlanta United and New England tonight, and then the matchup in RSL this weekend, because it is.
For the record, we over here are full team, one cycle per coach.
Yes.
If you win a World Cup, let's talk about a second cycle like we go do with Germany.
Yep.
We can talk about it. Not guaranteed. It's nothing personal.
100%.
But to your point, and I agree with you, Tyler. To your point, you need a fresh set of eyes. You need a fresh human being to be a voice in their ear and to direct that national team. I agree with you completely. It's going to be interesting to see if they're able to pull that trigger or not, because I'm not sold they are, man. Like,
I'm
the
not
longer
either.
this goes, the more I'm wondering.
Well, but I mean, do you need to? And this is, I guess, working two separate lanes of traffic here. I think that you can, because you have nothing going on in the active friendlies and matches, calendar up until September. I think you can wait in naming a successor until after the Olympics, or at least start your investigation there. So then if you can wait until after the Olympics to figure out who you want to bring in, can you at the same time just sit there and say, we're looking at it, and then once all of the current competitions are over, then pull the trigger and go, okay, we see who's available, and, thank Greg for his service, and then pursue it from there, because you might be selling yourself short if you say something now, you let Greg go, and then your investigation doesn't have all of your possible candidates. That's, I guess, what I'm getting at here. As a possibility.
What team was it in the World Cup? Like the moment that they got knocked out, like that same day, their manager.
It was, I think it was Jamaica with Chalmerson. Basically, they were like, well, I mean, this year with the tournament that is blanking me, the Copa. Literally, Jamaica gets bumped out of the Copa after the third game in the group stage. Jamaica was like, Chalmerson's resigned. I mean, they didn't.
Yeah, but I guess that's the thing. Like, if you're U.S. Soccer, you had to go into this tournament saying this is your litmus test. Period. Because you're not going to have this kind of competition for the rest of the time until the World Cup. So it should have been, all right, our bare minimum is whatever, quarterfinal.
Yeah.
Which whatever. Pick a game, but it obviously not going to be getting grouped. Pick the game and say that's the minimum. If you make it past that, cool. We'll see out until 2026.
Yeah.
But if you don't, that day it needed to be over. I in my opinion, I'm being way more impatient about this than I am with Atlanta. But I just feel like there's so much more at stake here, because it's, again, I've said it, this is the third time. It's unfair for anybody that you do bring in for them now not to get a tournament like Copa to test themselves in. They're going to have a bunch of friendlies, and you better hope that you can get friendlies with some really good teams between now and 2026 to just see what you're working with. So I think it needs to be way sooner than later.
Okay. All right. So since we've got, 15 minutes or so before Nino Torres jumps in here at the top of the hour, I do want to literally, this is the moment, like the Saturday Night Live moment where, where were you when? So I figure what I'll do is I'll go ahead and play it. Go ahead and drink your coffee.
TRA was on the back post in the first sequence that Hernandez tried to play it through. TRA couldn't get to it. The defender, who was draped all over him, got it.
Here's a steal off TRA. He will turn to shoot, score! He scores! I don't believe it. The goalkeeper put the ball down. TRA took it away from him and scored. And Atlanta United might have just
Jamal TRA was.
Yeah, I figured we'd bring that back. Oh, yeah. Once again, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. There's a lot more of it, and literally it would be just the two of us laughing for the next 90 seconds.
Which is okay.
The inherent disappointment of playing that clip is that now Jamal is out because of an injury for the next couple of weeks. But, sometimes it's just got to happen a certain, you're not going to
Worth it.
I mean,
Worth it.
sometimes you gotta do whatever you got to do to win, And if it just so happens that Jamal's playing possum and he says he's done it before, and it finally worked. But this is as much on Toronto's defense having their back turned to Luka Gavrin, except for the one individual who's kind of pointing and is 25 or 30 yards away, pointing behind, and Gavrin's focused on everything going on.
Yep.
And so hey, look, 3 points are 3 points. However you take it, however you make it. Sometimes you got to make your own luck, and Jamal did it by playing possum.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that because, like you said, a win is a win. The team, look, they didn't play great. Like, and Rob is smart enough. He knows, and he even kind of alluded to it in the press conference, but he knows that there are things that needed to be fixed and still need to be fixed. I even asked him that after the match, you're 4 games in, what needs to be worked on? What are you doing well? And, of course he applauded the mentality, which I think everybody has seen, because that's how you're getting these gritty wins, right? But for Jamal to go and do something like that, that is the definition of not giving up. Not giving up. And, I kind of went to war with some people on Twitter, which I don't normally do.
You went to war with people on the 280 character app?
I know. I avoid it like the plague.
That never happens, ...
Look, people were like, that should be a disallowed goal.
Yeah, well, that's why we had Bart on the morning after to discuss the whole offside rule and going off the field of play and referee discretion and all that kind of stuff. That's the beauty of having reffing down here, is that was a point that was brought up, and Bart was like, well, nah.
No, I mean, first, and I can't put this, I can't say it on Twitter because it won't come across the same way, but common sense. If a dude wants to step right there off the pitch to grab water, that's not what the rule's for. The rule is for people to leave the actual field, not try to find a loophole and a technicality to be like, oh, that should be just shut up. Sorry, I'm gonna get freaking irritated.
He's freaking irritated. He's more than that. It would bring the explicit rating early in the morning in hour number 1, but he's freaking irritated.
Coming in hot-ish, lukewarm. No, I mean, I sat there. It was funny because I was finishing up my article, and because trying to finish it up, and I'm like, dang, it's gonna end up being a draw. This sucks. Whatever. Putting the finishing touches on it, and I looked up and I saw TRA, and it kind of took me a second to register, and then I started hearing the crowd. As you heard in the clip, the crowd starts to build up, and I'm like, oh, he doesn't see him. And then I had that moment of clarity right when TRA stole the ball and he took the turn, and it was that moment of everything slowed down. And I was like, please hit the net. Please don't miss this open net. And he didn't. It was perfect. It was a beautiful thing, but I will never forget that goal. That was insane.
And, look, as we say, sometimes it's just got to be in these kinds of moments where you're fighting and you're scrapping and it's schedule compression and you're having to do it without dudes and you're having to do it with lineups and fatigue and all this kind of stuff. And you're leading into another round of schedule compression, 6 matches before the All-Star break, including Open Cup at the Fraction. Literally, it is road game, Fraction, road game, home game, midweek weekend, All-Star break. And that's literally it is 6 matches in 18 days? 20. So 6 matches in 18 days, one including the chance to get you into an Eastern area final in Open Cup. So you're in the round of 8, you beat Indy 11, you're in the final 4, and you have the chance at getting hardware within schedule compression, but you get through first things first with New England. And it's another test for you, and you're getting some folks back, but once again, not having Jamal up top creates, other questions and things for Rob and the staff. But New England does not have Shankali out for the season. They will not have Carlos Heel because of the nebulously Stanley Cup playoff worded, injury or lower body injury or whatever. But you won't have Heel. You won't have Shankali. And maybe Caleb Porter, whose team hit a wall after turning a corner. It'll be an interesting matchup here in the midweek before you hop on a plane and have to go to RSL. Gee, how much fun that's going to be.
Right. That's going to be amazing. And just to take a step back too, like I think it hasn't been stated enough how important beating Toronto was, because you were right behind them. You were 3 points, and a draw would have been okay, but a win is what you needed out of that match. And then now you go to New England and you have to take the game to New England. Like, they had a good run, to be fair. They had those 4 games. It was solid, but then they hit Columbus and Columbus said, not today. Yeah, not today. Get out.
Not so fast, my friend. They got up the Ticonderoga with number 2 pencil.
Yep. And 5-1 is not a fun result to come off of. So you're missing your main playmaker. I mean, really the only benefit you have right now is the fact that you're at home. If you're New England, like, cool, you're at home, but missing your playmakers, especially the playmaker, coming off of a really bad loss, and you've not been a great team. So I think for Rob, the message, and I don't know what his message is, but I'm just, if I were Rob, the message for me would be, we have to go after New England in their house. We have to make them uncomfortable. Their goal scoring threats are not there, and defensively they've clearly been shaky. So you cannot let them get settled in. You got to go after them from the opening whistle. It would be different if you were playing Columbus at their house. It would be different if you were playing Miami, even though we've already done that and won at their house. This is not a great team, so you have to take it to them, regardless of whether or not you're playing at home or they're playing at home. You have to go after them. So, yeah, I mean, be aggressive. The Salt Lake game is going to be harder.
Yeah.
So take advantage of this.
Did you see where Caleb got fined for his late match interaction with a player from Toronto FC?
Yeah.
For those that did not have the chance to either see it, because it was not made an issue on the TV broadcast, literally it was something off camera, and you have folks running and rushing over to try and diffuse the situation. From what you can recall, break that down for folks.
Yeah, I think it was coming off of a corner, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a little bit of, bumping into each other, whatever. And Caleb, as fearless as Caleb is, and it's something about that spot on the pitch, because he did the same thing last year at Philly where he pointed at the scoreboard, getting into it. But he got into it with, I forget his name. Dude grabbed his shirt and would not let go. And Caleb kind of kept pushing him, hard, pushing him off. And the dude just kept holding onto his shirt. So eventually Caleb grabs him around the neck. And, to be fair, taking soccer out of it, like, let me go.
The Kobe Franklin, I think was who it was.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Franklin. So, it wasn't like Caleb went straight to the throat. He was trying to get the guy off of him, but eventually he grabbed him around the throat, which you can't do. I get it. I think there should have been a little more that happened on the field, but once he grabbed him, everybody's running over. The ref comes over. They finally let go of each other, and then then Caleb gets fined for grabbing a guy around the throat.
Okay, so all right, so I'm looking at the replay right now, and literally, grabbing, and honestly, it's like he's got the Toronto player has his hand on Caleb's jersey, and no matter how many times Caleb is trying to push away, you end up with the same the same activity going and going and going here. It's just like, yeah, bro, let me go,
Yep. And that was the thing. It was like, all right, because if I remember correctly, and this might have just been what I saw, but he pushed him 3 times trying to get him off.
Third time, then hands around the neck, fourth push, and then they finally do, and he's still grabbing each other. Jamal's trying to separate the two of them. Sigur Rosted's trying to grab Caleb. So, yeah, and so nothing for the Toronto player. So for anyone that wants to see the video, I'm posting the link. So so there you go. So Caleb got an undisclosed fine for in violation of league's policy regarding hands to the face, head, or neck of an opponent. He's been issued an undisclosed fine for his action in the 94th minute, but the match against Toronto FC on June 29. So so Disco got it. Disco gave him a fine.
I mean, you can't do it. I don't blame Caleb for doing it because, like, dude, get off me, right? Like, let me go.
Yeah.
But at least he didn't get a red card. I say that from a fan perspective. Like, I'm not the one that probably just got fined like $10,000 or something stupid. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But like, at least you didn't end up with a red card as well. So, at the end of the day, you just can't do it though. You gotta be careful. You gotta be smarter. It just, Caleb is not one that's going to back down though. That's the thing ever. So kudos to having that mentality, but also you can't grab people around the throat.
Yeah. And let me wrap up with you involving silly season. Atlanta United has the chance now to vote for Pedro at left back. And now there's also the talk of, here we go. There are here we goes involving Thiago. We do not have anything officially in the here we go category involving Eagle Holdings. We have seen 21. We have seen Botafogo with a promise to send to Lyon eventually. We have seen possible metrics. My guess is it's 21 and a percentage of the pass to get it to that first marker, and then performance metrics to possibly get it to 30. But if we just say 21, we'll say that right now. And then you mentioned Caleb. There seems to be interest in Caleb. We knew about PSV. Chelsea, sure, why not? Okay. So right now, you're looking at least 30 to 31 to play with, to start with in this window coming up in the next 2 weeks, and then possibly another, say, 10. Shoot. Charge Chelsea whatever the hell you want.
Exactly.
Only Clear Lake could be like, yeah, sure, why not? That'd be great.
15 minutes.
Yeah, it's like, oh, sure, okay, yeah, we see that. So it could be an interesting window. But like I said, we've had our first move, waiting on one. Actually, technically, we've had 2 moves if you include the move where, by the way, Karma is not the boyfriend playing on Cruz Azul, and literally out of the blocks, first match in, there's an ankle injury. No give backs. No, none of that involving an individual, and
no return policy.
No returns. No, that doesn't matter if you have the receipt. There's just no return policy here.
Period.
So two out the door, maybe as many as 2 and 2 in. You're like, yeah, okay. So we'll see what it looks like here coming up in the window.
Yeah, I think the Almada thing is more or less a done deal. I don't see that ever. I don't see that turning around. So yeah, I mean, you're looking at a lot of money from him. It's a win, even if you're just looking at the dollar amount, it's a win.
Mm-hmm.
Because you didn't lose money, you made money.
Yeah,
and you've now opened up a lot, or you will have opened up a lot, because we all know how valuable those DP spots are. You got to go and hit on them for sure. There are players out there. You're at the summer transfer window, which is going to be where you're probably going to get at least more options. You're going to have more options. So you just have to take advantage. And it's not like, because we haven't heard anything about other players, like there's the Miguel Borjas rumor, which is a big one. Just because you haven't heard a lot doesn't mean that Garth and Carlos don't have a piece of paper that's, 12 feet long that has names on it.
And as you and I have said in the past, the business done by Atlanta United is done at the Nunya School of Business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's how they are. And that's fine. That's fine.
Need to know basis, and you don't need to know.
Yeah. And you won't know officially. You won't know from us until the day it actually officially happens, which is fine.
Yeah.
So I'm excited though. I think you're going to be looking at a much more well-rounded squad in the next 2 months. And you still have plenty to play for. You're on the playoff line, and you're on, I don't want to call it a roll, but you are on an unbeaten streak, and an unbeaten streak during a really tough time. So you do have some positives. You got some things going for you. You just got to keep taking advantage of it.
Bam wants to know who you think is going to win El Trafico at the Rose Bowl this week.
LA Galaxy.
Ooh.
Yep.
I'm going to take the over. I'll take the over at 3.5, whatever that number is right now. And I'm looking forward to that one on July 4th. Anything else that you want to discuss in the quick before your time with us is out the door? Have you dog-proofed the studio since your last visit?
I haven't done much in here, but I did realize. So in my busy moments trying to get everything kind of prepared in here, I look at my old house, in my old studio. Mm-hmm. I could set this microphone on like the first setting out of 10, and it would sound fine. When I moved in here, I was like, well, let me just make sure, because I'm sitting a little further back from the mic.
Yeah.
Let me turn it up. So I turned it up to 5, which I think is why you could probably hear, like the neighbor's dog walking around outside.
Okay. Gotcha.
Not to mention my dog running around inside. So I turned it down. Hope it sounds better.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, it's all good. I was just wondering if you were continuing to work on Scarves in Spike's office while you were there and still moving into the house. How is the overall move into the new casa, by the way?
It's good. It's good. We have, we still have boxes, but like it looks like a house now. It looks like, things are put away. They're where they need to be.
It doesn't look like a pod's exploded, basically.
Yeah. It doesn't look like squatters either. So
well,
it's going well.
Some states you could be okay with that. Hit the promo before you get out of here.
Scarvesandspikes.com. We had yesterday was a big day for the academy and the youth development system and everything.
Cooper Sanchez,
Cooper Sanchez. I had an article on Aiden Torres, which was really fun talking to him. Great kid, first player in Atlanta United history to go from the RDS down at the very bottom all the way up to a homegrown pro contract, which is cool. So a couple of really good articles over there. And then we had our show last night because of the game tonight. So other than that, we'll be back over on our normal show. We'll do the spaces after, and then we'll have our normal stuff over the weekend and then next week. So,
yep. So, and what are you doing on the 4th?
Well, we were supposed to actually be in Florida. We were going to go down and visit my wife's grandparents and do everything from down there, but they had some health issues. So we're still trying to figure that out. Don't know if we're going to do something here, maybe take a little day trip or a couple of day trip. I don't know.
Okay.
See fireworks somewhere. I just don't know where.
All right. And so post pictures on the social media so people can yell at you that much more. Okay.
Yes, I will.
Scarves and Spikes on the 280 character app. And Tyler, as always, it's great to catch up with you, my friend. We will catch up with you after this round of schedule compression with Open Cup happening right there next time you show up. And so we'll have other stuff to talk. Actually, we'll have 2 matches plus the Open Cup to talk about when you come back next week.
Yes, we will. It's going to feel like this was 3 weeks ago by the time I come back.
You ain't kidding, brother. Be safe. We'll have a safe weekend. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thank y'all.
All right. That's Tyler. And by the way, you can go to their website and get the coffee mug that Tyler has. And he's pounding his coffee as we speak in the green room before he gets out of here. So, go watch their show. Tommy spent $17, irony alert, to have Jürgen Damm cut a show intro / cameo for them. And so go watch the replay on the YouTubes for that alone. I think that's $17 worth spent. That's the fastest $17 that Scarves in Spikes has ever spent. And I mean that both figuratively and literally. So no, it's always great to have Tyler to come in on Wednesdays and discuss anything and everything. And this morning we took a right-hand turn and started with the new head coach in Nashville. So that was very, very interesting. And yes, the Aiden Torres getting named to the MLS Next All-Star team. and he'll be a part of activity in Columbus. It's been great to see him continue to grow from his time with RDS and being able to see what's going on with the Twos and Cooper Sanchez signing a deal with the Twos and all that. All right. Man, he is punctual, more than punctual. And for this, we get to go to the palatial estate of Nino Torres, and we get to see what's going on. Nino, you done with your burpees this morning, brother?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know it, baby. You know it. 7 a.m. every single day, 50 burpees for 50 days. That's the challenge, man. Day 29. Day 29 today.
Brother, you are far better off than I am, and you are far more healthier than I am. I will say that right now. I mean, you're a better man than I. For those that may not know, Nino is crashing our party on Wednesday, on Thursdays traditionally, but because tomorrow's July 4th, Nino has graciously slid his segment to today at 10 o'clock Eastern to discuss what's going on in his mind with the Copa, with his beloved Peru, with teams that have just completely circled the drain and gone out the door through the group stage. And so he has graciously dropped in today to discuss things. Now that we are through with the group stage, I guess we can do the good, the bad, and the ugly for the Copa America. Yeah. Give me the good. We'll take it one at a time. Give me the good for you from what you've seen from the Copa so far.
The good for me, Colombia, so solid, rock solid numbers yesterday against Brazil. They put up a stellar performance. James Rodriguez still on that 2014 World Cup mode. You know, he's just fantastic. You know, my candidate Uruguay. They're gonna meet Brazil in the quarterfinals, and that's gonna be I'm gonna tell you this: whoever wins that game is gonna be the champion.
Really?
I'm gonna put it like that. If Brazil is able to beat this Uruguay, they deserve it. But I think that I'm saying this because I know Uruguay is gonna win. You know, I'm saying that because I know Uruguay is gonna win, and I think this is the only team. The only team that can put up with Argentina in the finals. You know, I forgot about it, right? I know we're going to the good and the ugly, right? But I forgot about the draw, and then I just realized that why Argentina is on this. It's something is not right with that the way the tournament was designed. But it is what it is, and I'm sick of people, you know, trying to undervalue the quality of this Argentina team. They are the world champions and the current Copa America champions. So what do you want me to? What do you want? Yeah. What do you want? That's my question. You know, because I got my friends from Gold TV. We're in a group chat, right? Everybody's talking about the games, right? I'm the only one who roots for Argentina. Everyone else is rooting for Brazil. So you can imagine I'm just fighting with every single one of them. Boom, 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 boom. And they were like, "Oh no, that was a penalty. It was a penalty for Brazil." I know, but there was also the goal was offside for Colombia. So it's one mistake for each side of the pitch, buddy. One mistake for each side of the pitch, and the referees have been awful. We're going to talk about that also in a little bit, right? But yeah, that's my goods. My goods is Uruguay and Colombia. I know Argentina. For me, I'm not saying that because for me it's a given.
Yeah,
but I'm really surprised, gladly surprised with the level of performance from Uruguay and Colombia.
All right. So then, before we get to the ugly, just give me your straight up bad.
Mexico.
Okay.
Mexico, flat out. Mexico it's just they are on this situation where. They try to blame everything else, but the problem is that they don't have enough quality players, and the pool of talent from Mexico. I don't know when the next generation is going to come, and they are in this hole, in this deep hole. Then they're trying to get out just with short-term decisions, and I don't think that's going to work for Mexico. Flat out, Mexico is the bad of the tournament, and just above Mexico, just a couple of steps away from Mexico, the U.S. U.S. men's national team. With
So
that,
hit me with the U.S., man. What's going through your mind with that?
I got the picture of Greg Berhalter doing this, the 1-1 thing. Hey, they 1-1 on the other game. They're 1-1 in the other game. Dude, they got 30 minutes to play. 30 minutes to play, and you're telling your team that the other game is 1-1 and you might get through? No way. I think Berhalter, I was saying this, I said this the last time that we talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
That there's the stability and the long-term relationship, but they need fresh ideas. And I don't think that Greg has more innovative ideas for this team that with the talent that they have. I'm not saying there's high quality talent, no, but I'm saying we because I'm considering this my team too. That we are now a way better stage than we were, 10 years ago. It was how many players are from the U.S. playing in Europe? I think I want to say 70% of the roster. If they go pull it up,
I am.
And you got players in Serie A, you got players in the Premier League, you got players in La Liga.
Okay, so we look at the current men's national team, and for the sake of getting it quickly, we're consulting with our friends at the Wikipedias. Okay, so Matt Turner, Nottingham Forest, Ethan Horvath, Cardiff City, CCV's at Celtic, Chris Richards at Crystal Palace, Jedi Robinson at Fulham, Tim Ream is at Fulham. So that's 6 in England. Tyler Adams, Bournemouth 7, Gio Reyna, Nottingham Forest 8. Brendan Aronson, Leeds 9, Haji Wright, Coventry City 10, Josh Sargent, Norwich 11. So 11 on the 26-man squad for the Copa, playing in England specific, or England and or Wales specific.
England, and then you have the other ones too. You do the other ones are playing in Bundesliga. You got players in Serie A.
Yeah, Scally's at Mönchengladbach. Christopher Lund is at Palermo. Yunus Musa's at Milan. Weston McKennie's at Juve. Luca De La Torre at Celta de Vigo. Johnny's at Betis. Balogun's at Monaco, and Weah's at Juve.
It's insane. I mean, they're not top teams. We know that. They're not top teams. They're not elite teams. But they are playing in Europe. This was unheard of 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we were begging for Americans to play abroad. Mm-hmm. Now, back in the day, we got 70% of the roster playing in the MLS. Now, let's put it this way. There's a big step. There's a transition. The U.S. men's national team is evolving. But because we are so, we need to win. We want to win. We want to be the best of the best. It's going to take some time. It's taking some time. The U.S. can make a ginormous progress, man. Ginormous progress from the days when they were playing shootouts with those jerseys in the MLS. It's an insane progress for the U.S. soccer, but still they need to make some more adjustments. The talent is not right where they need to be, and Vin Pulisic, your main star, your superstar, if you want to call it. Don't say main star, not superstar. There's no superstars in the U.S. national team, but I think he needs to lead the way. How old is Pulisic now? Is he 25 now? Is he?
Oh, I think he is. Don't quote me.
25, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because
25. Yeah, 25.
Oh.
September he turns 26.
35. So he's at his peak right now. Playing AC Milan. I think he's. This is what I think they need to do. It might work, might not work. It's working with Colombia. The team has to be surrounding and supporting the Pulisic's abilities. Right now, he's got to be. You got to build up the team around him. Mm-hmm. That's what you need to do, and trust in your main star. Argentina is trusting in Messi. Colombia is trusting in James Rodriguez, and it's working. And it's working. I think it's that idea of this is a collective team, it's a collective sport. I get it, but it's gotta be your quarterback. Your quarterback's gotta be your superstar in the team, and you gotta build a team around it. That's my perspective on politician.
And then I know that you're probably in the majority opinion that Greg Berhalter has to be let go. What kind of a coach do you bring in if taking what you are proposing here to build a team around Christian Pulisic, who will be 27 at the time of the World Cup, when the World Cup is in this hemisphere in 2 years? What kind of a manager do you bring in? Do you have anyone in mind to bring in to help surround against Christian Pulisic? Who's in your mind?
I do. I think this is you gotta bring the good Jurgen, the most prolific Jurgen, the smartest Jurgen that is Klopp. I think Jurgen
Can
Klopp.
you afford him? Would he want to not take time off and dive back into it?
I don't know. But if you, I mean, you got guys. All right, America has the best salesman in the world. All right, you are the kings of marketing. Sell it. Just go ahead and sell the project to Jurgen Klopp. All right, just go ahead and sell it. And if he buys it, if he comes in and he goes all in, you can have a sexy summer in 2026 with the World Cup.
Sexy summer with shiny teeth in 2026 with the World Cup. Since we've done the good and the bad, and you were properly hydrating this morning, go ahead and hit me with the ugly. What is the ugly that you've seen from the Copa so far? The refereeing.
Yeah. Refereeing has been he's been ridiculously bad. But in every game, in every single game, but like yesterday, it was ridiculous. So you draw the line for the offside, and they line up with the wrong guy. That's not the guy that you should run the line. It's the other one.
Yeah.
And they didn't say anything about it. Then they have the VAR, the penalty calls. Then they don't call the referee. The referee doesn't go and check it. And then we have this situation with Pulisic was so mad
with Ortega. Yeah.
And but I gotta tell you this. It might not be a popular opinion. I don't care. This is my opinion. This is what I believe, because number one, I've been a referee myself too. Okay, and I know what it is to be a referee. Okay, so Pulisic goes there and tells him, "Oh, go ahead and celebrate with them. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and celebrate with them." And then you come to me and you're gonna shake my hand. Not happening.
But seriously though, but even as a part of protocol and being a better man or being a professional, don't you still do that though?
Not me.
Okay.
I wouldn't do it.
All right.
Not me. If I'm the ref, I'm looking at me. You want me to go celebrate? Go ahead. Have a good night. I'm not shaking your hand, but have a good night. Go ahead.
Okay.
You know, I still can be polite and still can say my words. I don't know the what is this? The lip readers. I think I said something to him, but I don't know what he said. But it is what it is. It is what it is. I think this idea of the player feel that they're bigger than the game itself.
Yeah,
it's what it comes down to, you know. And you're not bigger than the game. You're not bigger than the game. And if you're not bigger than the game, don't do that. First off, don't do that. And if you want to say something to me, maybe I'll go shake your hands. When I'm shaking your hand, I'm telling you, are you going to go celebrate with him? But I'm holding your hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a different way. There's different ways to do it. And I think, I don't know. So
then what you would have done in that situation is don't do the stuff that Christian was doing about go to the center and go celebrate. You wait until you're shaking the hand of the referee and then say your piece.
Yeah, to your face.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
that's
I
what we
mean,
did.
because we saw what we saw with Ortega from Peru, who looked completely
Mhm.
out of his element in a match of that magnitude, and
Yeah,
we have our host of our U.S. specific show. He comes on, and he also has spent time as a referee. And so I like to get into the head of referees and figure out, okay, what's going on in this particular situation. But it seemed to me that Ortega was out of his element, and I think the moment where you have the foul and he reaches for the card, and then you get the quick start, and then he doesn't have the opportunity to write down the name in the yellow. This is like in the 30th minute. And then all of a sudden the match is already going, and then he goes like this, and he hadn't had the chance to write the name down. I think that to me was all I needed to see, is that he was above his element and did not need to be in that match.
yeah, and the thing is, I've seen many games from Ortega here in the Peruvian league,
Okay.
and he always comes up with these attitudes, man. He has an attitude problem. All right, he's not the first time that he's done that. It maybe I wanna grab some highlights. I want to send it to you.
Okay.
So you can share with your audience. I'm not now, but I'm going to send it to you afterwards.
Yeah.
I'm going to look them up.
Yeah.
Because there are more than a few, and especially now that I'm recalling this, yeah, especially at the end of the games, because the end of the games, the team that has been receiving the bad calls, if you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
Always the captain comes up to him and says something to him, and he always kind of slick with his answers. And I want to send these highlights to you to see that this is not the first time that Kevin Ortega has done that. All right,
Okay.
not
Absolutely.
the first time, and sometimes I think he's in the case to a player or something like that.
Well, and then you follow, and working backward, you had Ivan Bartone, who was in the other match against the United States here in Atlanta last Thursday that went sideways. I mean, obviously, we talked about Timothy Weah and what you don't do in that situation, and that cascaded to hurt the U.S. in that match, and then the match that happened in the last group stage. But you have a guy like Ivan Bartone, who is, Ivan Bartone, man, it's like we went through his history too, and there are some folks in the middle in hemispheric competitions that you really got to do your research on and be prepared to watch. Guys like Ortega and Bartone.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? What's the other one? What's the other referee? I think it's Matonte. Matonte. Yeah, this is an Uruguayan referee.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing with these referees, okay? Because now Matonte is in a different category because he's probably the best referee in Uruguay, but he has these attitudes with the players too, and it's just about character. And I don't know about the CONMEBOL selecting these referees, because you go by the FIFA. All right, are you a FIFA referee? FIFA referee here. We got 3-4 in each country, and on paper, they are the best referees that you can bring into this competition.
Yeah,
but also you gotta think about that. You gotta be thinking that for the spectacle, for the show, somebody that is used to the big stage. That's what the kind of referees that you need to bring. I've seen the Ecuadorians. There's a couple of Ecuadorians. I think it's Aragon and Franklin Congo. I've seen them as fourth officials, and I don't recall seeing them being the main referee of games. But those two names, go ahead and when you have time, when you have a chance, Google them and look them up. It's Franklin Congo and Arturo Aragon or Rodrigo Aragon from Ecuador.
Mm-hmm.
Elite referees, those two, and they're not being the main referees on these games. They're being on the VAR. They're being on the fourth officials. Why these elite referees are not the main referees for these kind of games. We'll see what happens in the quarterfinals. Now, what is the selection for the referees?
Another couple of minutes with our buddy Nino Torres, as he's done his burpees, he's warming up, he's got the caffeine rolling, and he's hanging out with us here on a Wednesday, and we could not be more grateful or thankful that we get his expertise. Two dudes that I want to ask about. What has Marcelo Bielsa meant to Uruguay? What has El Loco meant to Uruguay to turn this new chapter for them? Because it's been a special watch.
I'm gonna add to that name another name, which is the previous name of Uruguay. That's Washington Tavares. All right, Washington Tavares was the head coach for Uruguay for 15 years. Okay, 15 years, the longest tenure in CONMEBOL. And this is the guy that he didn't revolutionize Uruguayan soccer, no, but he was making sure that the younger generations of Uruguayan players got the right development. And now Bielsa is collecting this. All that hard work for 15 years. He comes in and is collecting. I'm not saying that he doesn't have nothing to do with it. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that all these young players, the transition from the old guard to the new guard for Bielsa has been perfect. It has been just perfect, and it fits his style of play. The high press, gang pressing. You see these players running. It's insane the level of pressing that Uruguay puts on the pitch, and you can only do that with young players. You cannot put out that performance like that with 30-year-old players. No, he got the 22, 23, 24. Everyone is at their peak right now for Uruguay. And what I'm give to Marcelo is that he doesn't play players out of position. He maximizes the talents of these players at their natural positions. And he is just probably the hardest working man in the world. I'm telling you, this guy, if you ask Marcelo Bielsa, hey, what is this guy in the second division in, I don't know, Kenya?
He'll know, brother.
He'll know. Okay, he watched everything. And just to give you an idea, I don't know if you heard of this, but he called up a player from an amateur league. He was a striker in an amateur league in Uruguay. You come over here. Come on, train with the national team. The guy scored 29 goals in 24 games in the amateur league. But just to give you an idea, he watches everything, every single detail. There's no stone unturned in Uruguay that Marcelo Bielsa doesn't know about it, man. And that's his obsession with the game is what makes this team so exciting to watch. I love Marcelo Bielsa. I love him, man. I love him.
Then the other name that I wanted to ask you about is James. And with James, there are times where you don't know which James you're going to get. And in this tournament, you are getting good James. And I mean, traditionally, maybe if you like your James a certain way, you're getting spicy James right now, man. I mean, this is a good James to watch, and he's really putting himself back out there on the world stage for everybody to see.
Absolutely. And I don't know, did I tell you the story about Lorenzo when he just hired and what he did with James?
You did not, sir. Go ahead and tell me.
I did. Okay. So the first time that they call up Toto Lorenzo, which is the head coach for Colombia, right? The very first thing that he did after he was named head coach, hey, can I get a flight to Qatar, please? Qatar, what do you? Just give me a flight to Qatar, man. Just book me a flight. I'm gonna be on the first plane. I'm going to Qatar tomorrow. Boom! He takes the plane to Qatar, goes to see James, sits down with him, and tell him, "Hey, look, I just got the national team, and I want to build this team around you. But there's one condition: you cannot be playing here. Get out of here.
Wow!
You need to get out of Qatar right now." Boom! They do the thing, and he went to Sao Paulo. Now he's in Sao Paulo playing, and they're not very happy in Sao Paulo with James right now because he hasn't been, at this kind of level that he's playing for the national team. But the thing is, he feels that this is his team. And this is special players. He's a special character, James Rodriguez. He's like that. He needs love. He needs love. Like he's getting love. So once he feels love, he can provide this kind of James Rodriguez that we're watching right now, 2014 World Cup caliber right now. He's playing insane right now.
Yeah, he is.
Insane.
All right, my friend. What are you anticipating with the quarterfinals? Got another couple of minutes here with you. 2-minute warning. So what are you anticipating with the quarters? I know that you're looking at Uruguay, as am I. I think they take care of Brazil. What about the other matchups? Who do you think is going to work their way through?
Colombia will run over Panama. Colombia will destroy Panama. I mean, they want to destroy Panama. That's what I mean. I'm telling you, because I know Panama has been, producing this kind of games that you kind of exciting, right? But they don't have a chance against Colombia. On the other side of the draw, Argentina. That's gonna be a fun game to watch. That's gonna be a fun game to watch against Ecuador, and I think that might go into the penalty shootout, that game right there. Be careful with this Ecuadorian team. Be careful with this Ecuadorian team. I've seen the Argentinian media looking over the shoulder Ecuador. Hey, they should be scared. They're gonna play. No. Nobody's scared of you, buddy. Nobody's scared of you right now. No. Don't look Ecuador over the shoulder. No. It's gonna be a big mistake if you do that. Now the other one, Canada and Venezuela. Venezuela, vino tinto all the way. Venezuela, woo! I'm so happy about Venezuela. I'm telling you, man. I'm so happy about Venezuela. And I think they're gonna win this one. They're gonna beat Canada. They're gonna beat Canada, and that's gonna be a thriller. It's gonna be maybe like, I don't know, something like a 3-2 or something like that. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of goals in that game. I'm telling you.
All right. Well, as always, my friend, it's great to catch up with you. Thank you for coming on a day early. We'll catch up with you next Thursday and break everything down as we get in toward the finals and figuring out who's going to be the champ of the Copa in 2024. Be safe and have a fantastic weekend, and may your burpees be kind. And we will catch up with you next week, my friend.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me. We'll see you next week, guys. Thank you.
All right, be good. There goes Nino. And Nino is if you haven't found your way to Gold TV, he is one of the true personalities of the network. And when you listen to him calling play-by-play, Nino does not suffer fools. If something ain't going right and he doesn't like it, he'll let you know. And it is a fun listen on Gold TV, and you can get Gold TV. Here's our plug at Fanatis, ftz.co/soccer down here. You get Fanatis. You get all the BNs. You get Gold TV, Nuestra Tele, TIC, all of that. Jason got me hooked. I blame him. And that's how I know Nino. It's from my time with Fanatis and dialing up Gold TV and listening to Nino and sit there and watching Nino call the matches that he has in front of him. And so for us to be able to catch up with Nino during the Copa, it is a true feather in our cap, and we could not be more blessed or thankful to have him dialing us up from the Nino estate in Lima, Peru. It's always fun to have the man coming on with us, and we'll catch up with him again next Thursday. We'll be back on the normal schedule because of national holidays and things like that. Reminder, tomorrow it's going to be the high school showcase. We're going to post a lot of our action that we had during all the great games that we had during the high school season, presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. It's going to be a high school Thursday on July 4th. All of the great games that we had. We're going to start at 9 o'clock with Johnson, Gainesville, and Gainesville from City Park. And the madness that was that derby, the insanity that was Johnson, Gainesville, and Gainesville. We're going to start with that. We're going to have some of our matchups from the playoffs. It's going to be high school all day on the network. And so just set your notifications. It'll be like at 9 and then 11:30 and then at 2 and then at 5 and then at 8. So it's going to be all high school all day long. And it's going to be fantastic to listen to all of that. And yeah, 4-card Nino is awesome. And yeah, Uruguay, Colombia, and Brazil, the 4 card says on the same side of the bracket, it helps Argentina. As Nino was saying, you kind of set things up a certain way for a particular reason. I think Uruguay knocks off Brazil. And not having Vinicius Jr. is going to hurt. So good luck taking on Uruguay without Vinicius Jr. And I think Uruguay takes out Brazil, and I think that you're looking at an Uruguay-Argentina final in the Copa. And yes, thank you for reminding me that Panama is in fact in CONCACAF. If I was thinking like who had Canada as the only team out of CONCACAF to make it through into the knockouts, yeah, Panama. Yeah, that's what happens when you're sitting there and you're trying to write something quick. But Tom seems to be sold on Hamas. Hamas, notoriously a country over club guy. Maybe he'd excel in Major League Soccer. Not sure it's worth the monetary risk. I want to check on Hamas's value. And we'll get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch before Niko Moreno joins us, and maybe a special guest joining us as well. So let's see. Hamas, if I could spell Hamas, and I know this is really going to work well for live audio. So Hamas right now is at Sao Paulo, and his market value, according to Transfermarkt, last updated a couple weeks ago, only €3.5 million. Of course, when you're an attacking mid at the age of 32, that's what folks are looking at. But right now at Sao Paulo, and his highest market value, July 1st of 2015, at €80 million. But right now, he's at Sao Paulo, and his contract expires in a year. He's got another year on his deal. He signed a 2-year deal back in 23. He's halfway through it. So his deal would end when he turns 30, just before he turns 34. But yeah, right now, Hamas' current market value, €3.5 million. So we'll see what the world does for Hamas coming off of this particular tournament. And yeah, 4-card Brazil is effed, not having Vinicius Jr. So I think that Uruguay makes it through. Man, you want to talk about a possible final of Uruguay and Argentina? Bielsa going up against Messi? That'd be pretty sweet. So keep an eye on that. We'll have Nino back on Thursday next week, and we'll break up the Final Four, and we'll see what's going on there. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, and all that kind of stuff. So what to watch today, I think it's going to be a fairly light day. It is. Wow, it is a light day. DAZN USA has the Women's Champions League at 145 and 4. Lyon Benfica at 145. Chelsea and Ajax at 4. Paramount Plus has the one matchup in the Copa de la Liga, Lanús and Unión Santa Fe at 8:30. If you want to watch more, then like I said, that's where Fanatis comes into play. You can really watch South American soccer. I do it on the weekends now, and I'm watching like lower division South American soccer because I have Fanatis and I want to have something live on my TVs. So Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. It is CDO, Nuestro Tele, Gold TV, all the BNs, all that stuff. It's available for you there. Soccer Bowl 83 is, you see maybe if I did it with the right finger, this soccer ball, it's the old North American Soccer League. So this is an advertisement for their championship game, the old North American Soccer League in 1983. And they called it Soccer Bowl. And so Soccer Bowl 83 was, and let me see if the best way that I can break this down. Soccer Bowl 83, courtesy of our friends at the Wikipedias, was at BC Place with Tulsa and Toronto. Tulsa Roughnecks won Soccer Bowl 83 at BC Place by the score of 2-0. And this was where basically the entire country rooted against one of the teams. You had the entire nation of Canada rooting for the Tulsa Roughnecks because the last thing Canada wanted was for the Toronto Blizzard to win this match. So Soccer Bowl 83, that is the 1980s version of BC Place before they pulled the roof off and did the artificial curtain and all that. This was the blow up, the old Metrodome version of BC Place where they had the inflatable roof. So yeah, Soccer Bowl 83, Tulsa beating Toronto by the score of 2-0 at Old BC Place in Vancouver. Niego Pesa was your MVP in front of 53,326. Apparently, pre-match controversy, according to our friends at the Wikipedias. During Game 3 of the semifinal series with Montreal, Tulsa forward Ron Futcher picked up his third yellow card. By rule, this gave him a one-match suspension. League Director of Operations Ted Howard wanted to enforce it. Futcher was not only the team's leading scorer, but also a leader in the locker room. Tulsa's owners appealed the yellow and even alluded to the press the possibility of boycotting the final if Futcher was not allowed to play. Toronto team president Clive Toye felt that bending the rules for a star player might set a bad precedent, but was nevertheless prepared to face whatever lineup Tulsa put out on the pitch. Ultimately, NASL president Howard Samuels overruled Ted Howard, decided to allow Futcher to play because he felt the fans in attendance would be the ones made to suffer by Futcher's absence, and he scored goal number 2 in the 62nd minute, and that was part of Tulsa's win over Toronto in 1983. October 1st, 1983, that's the T-shirt that the man is wearing today here on the show. Last half hour, we know what that means. It's time we go to Seattle, where it is 7:36 in the morning, and someone is probably on his second cup of coffee. So we will ask, are you on your second cup of coffee, Niko Moreno?
Hey, what's going on, John? SDH family, yes, you're correct. It's cup número 2 here in the Pacific Northwest. It was a lovely night, lovely day yesterday after watching Colombia play a fantastic game. And today we wake up with all of the blessings and all of the smiles in the world.
Of course. And so we had Nino Torres on before you from Goal TV, and I was asking about, there were 2 guys that I wanted to ask his opinions on from what we've seen in the Copa. And I asked him for some good, bad, and ugly, too. Oh, and by the way, we might have a special guest in our segment this week.
All right.
I asked him about Marcelo Bielsa and what Bielsa has meant to Uruguay. And I also asked about James and what James has meant to Colombia. When I mention Bielsa and James, what comes to mind from this tournament and what you've seen from them?
James just provides magic, provides delivery, provides leadership, provides sacrifice, and that's just who James is, with the national team emblem in his chest. I mean, that's exactly what it is. You can criticize him for his instability and inconsistency at the club level, but when it comes to play, whenever you hear the word James, you hear commitment right next to it whenever it comes to Colombia. He showed you that yesterday. His intensity, his ability to control the pace, his ability to distribute, he's just unbelievable. And you saw the big drawback that pulling him off the field has for Colombia. That's going to be a challenge they're going to have to figure out. And when it comes to Bielsa, it provides brilliance and confidence, and it embodies and amplifies everything that Uruguay can do. You can tell that regardless of the situation and the moment, like a difficult game against the United States in terms of maybe not being as effective as they've been in other games, Marcelo Bielsa sitting on his cooler, whenever you look at that bench, whenever you look at that sideline, you could tell the guys just understand, hey, we got this. It's under control. The young guys feel backed up, and I think that that's something Uruguay really needed, was that generational change being boosted, and I feel like it has. There's a lot of young players in this Uruguay team that are going to be studs for this national team for years to come. So Marcelo just provides stability, which is odd when your nickname is El Loco, but I feel like it does.
I'll ask you the same thing before we get into Major League Soccer here for the rest of your segment. The good, the bad, and the ugly of the Copa. The good, the bad, and the ugly from what we saw from the group stage. What would you say?
In all general senses, or do you want teams?
You can hit it however you want. It's the beauty of an open-ended question, my brother.
All right.
The good.
I guess the good is the clear evolution of soccer in several countries. I think that Costa Rica, regardless of being eliminated, showed you that this new generation of players can keep up. Uh, they have talent, they have quality. I thought Costa Rica was going to eliminate Brazil yesterday. I mean, if Costa Rica had 2 goals within, I don't know, 12 minutes, they continue to put those in. And there's a grim situation for Brazil if they lose to Colombia. So I thought that yesterday, Alcocer making that goal and the way that that one came out about, a young player that's going to be a generational player for Costa Rica, essentially, was important. Venezuela, for all those doubters, all those people that maybe had not seen this team and didn't watch them on a consistent basis and didn't know guys like Bello and didn't know guys like Machis, and maybe the quality of an experienced and another guy that embodies commitment to that flag, that shield, who is Salomon Rondon. If you had not seen him and you didn't know this Venezuela team, then now you have, and it shows that growth in so many soccer nations, and I think that's my biggest take from this one. The ugly for me would be the refereeing. I think that the refereeing has been atrocious. It's been, you know, almost insulting from the demeanor, the VAR. I mean, look, say what you will about that USA Uruguay game. I understand the US did not get eliminated because of poor refereeing. They got eliminated because they were unable to beat Panama and hold the lead, regardless of having one less man on that field. But the refereeing was awful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was disgusting. And that guy should not be able to ref a high school game from here on out. And it was just everything that has come with CONMEBOL and CONCACAF in this tournament, because that's not the only bad call. That's not the only bad managed game that we've had in Copa America. So that's been the ugly for me. And then what's the other one?
Bad.
The bad. The bad could be easy. The bad could be the 2 host nations being eliminated, because I say 2 because the US and Mexico could very easily have been called host nations, right?
Yeah.
On one side, US national team eliminated with their golden generation in a very beatable group. The way that it came about, the inability to score, the problems that you see coming forward because you don't really know what's going to happen with Greg. You start doubting everything about your current leadership and current process that you've kind of been building. A guy that you held on even after there was some controversies and he was supposed to be your guy. So now you're doubting that decision to keep Greg. And on the other hand, Mexico, you were warned, you were told, I mentioned it, they were going to flame out. And they did. And the ugly is an awful, sad soccer talent pool of players for Mexico. If you didn't know that Antuna is a guy that was limited, now you know. If you didn't know the Alexis Vega was a guy that has peaked, now you know. If you thought and you were of the mindset that Santi Jimenez was going to be God sent and you had been overhyping him over the last 3 or 4 months, now you know that's not it. So Mexico has to figure it out. Mexico has to break it down, rebuild it, and provide their nation and their wonderful fan base with a whole new infrastructure to get better. So I think that was the bad.
All right, Jared has joined us. He's not the possible special guest, but Jared's crashing with us.
No, I'm not special here.
No. So do you want to, Jared, you can ask a Copa question. You can steer it to Major League Soccer because we got 20 minutes left with Niko. How do you want to play?
I'm steering it to Major League Soccer because I've been wanting to ask Niko about this since I saw the news the other day. But St. Louis firing the reigning manager of the year half a season into their second season of existence. What?
That's surprising, man. It is surprising that a coach that to me was robbed from coach of the year last season, and that in whatever context you want to put behind, got this team to be the best team in the Western Conference with probably a lot less talent than most teams in that Western Conference, with less resources, with a new feature system of play that took the team by the league by storm. And this year, you get rid of a few important players for San Luis. You don't give him anything else. You give him a right back that's been decent. You give him a center midfielder that's been okay. But other than that, you gave him absolutely nothing. And you expected him to just continue to be what stellar now with a lot of data on the way he plays. Injuries have hurt this team. I mean, Pompeo out for this season. Claus has some issues. I mean, there's just so many different components when it came to that equation that I find it hard to believe that you believed that Cornell was the problem. Now, is there something else? I know that Sam Adeniran had been in the doghouse. There were some controversies behind closed doors with some players. Maybe that's what led to the firing or letting go of a guy that, to me, has shown you that understands the league, that has an identity, and that probably the hardest thing a coach has to do is have your players execute what you plan within the week. And he did that. So I'm just surprised. I think he gives the wrong messaging, in my opinion, to your team, that there is a lack of confidence that things are going to go and figure themselves out. Because if you look at that last loss, I mean, you're losing to a Vancouver team that was opportunistic, that found their way. I believe St. Louis missed the PK opportunity. I mean, there were just a lot of things that were circumstantial. So why now? Why this way? I don't like it, and I think it was a mistake. Cornell is not going to be in the free agent market for very long. He's not going to be at asking for that reimbursement of unemployment. He's not. He's going to get a job very soon. So I think it's a loss for St. Louis City. And unless they have a guy in mind that's coming in here soon, I just don't understand it.
And then one place we know that Bradley Carnell is not going to go is Nashville, as they named B.J. Callahan, the U.S. M&T assistant, as their head coach when the show started this morning. So we would like to thank Nashville for giving us breaking news to start the show off. But B.J. Callahan's now your new head coach in Nashville, and he starts just before Leagues Cup.
Yeah, it was kind of written in the water. He had announced that he was going to move on from being part of Greg Berhalter's coaching staff and the U.S. Best National Team. There were some connections there. I think he's a good guy to give you some sense of hope. A guy that understands the soccer scene, someone who, to my understanding, is a very good players coach. He's well liked around players. He's well liked around the league. So Nashville is another one of those teams that a head coach is not going to fix it, but maybe he's going to give it some direction. Now it's part of the front office's job to give him the tools so he can get this team where they should be and maybe beyond where they had been. Because if Gary Smith was let go, was because he couldn't get you over that hump. Can BJ? Perhaps, but you're going to have to give him the tools.
Jarrett for Niko on Wednesday, because Thursday being a national holiday.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was kind of my thought as well. Gary did what he did with what you gave him. Hani Mukhtar was carrying that team. I don't know if Hani can carry a team in 2024 the way he did 2 years ago. Not to say like it's a one-for-one to Carlos Vela. When he was at LAFC, he's just not the same guy. Like, guys can't carry it the same way. I have the same questions that you do about the investment and how much you're willing to give those guys. For your and this segues into my question for you. I mean, we know, like, here locally, the summer window's huge. What are some other teams you're looking at in this summer window who could make or break their fortunes for 2024 in the biggest way?
I mean, there's quite a few. Let's start with Nashville. I mean, you saw them against Inter Miami play Sam Surridge out wide, which was very odd to me, but that's kind of what they had to work with. I thought he did. I thought he played well, actually. I was very surprised. It's not something that I thought he had within his play, and he did it well. But they're going to have to add up a winger. They're going to have to figure out if Sam Surridge is going to be a player you're willing to sacrifice out wide. Then are you going to go get another 9? I mean, there is question marks, in my opinion, in terms of that midfield. The center defensive midfield position, you're going to have to figure out. You're going to have to revamp that position as well, especially when you're kind of noticing the problems you've had with just ball control and tempo control within Nashville. Now, we'll wait and see what BJ wants to implement as his soccer module, which is going to take some time. But I think that's going to be one team. Houston, Jesus. Houston is a team that is going to really need to go out there and find themselves a big 9. I guess Ponce is the guy that's going to come in. Pereira has looked good, so maybe they feel comfortable there. But I feel like adding another piece to a team that has looked really good. I was watching that Charlotte game, and I was pretty satisfied with the style of play that Ben Olsen, which is just blows my mind that I'm saying this, but they just play well. I mean, they hold the ball. They have long spells of possession. Hector Herrera has looked fantastic. It seems like that competition level has really helped Ferreira. Latif Blessing all of a sudden is starting to kind of reignite his MLS career. So there's a lot of good things happening in Houston. I feel like bringing in a guy in this summer window is really going to push that team to maybe be a contender and maybe break that line of the 3 top teams in the Western Conference that seem to be at a whole different level. Maybe Houston and Colorado can get there with that. So Houston is a team that I'm looking at. I think Charlotte, going back to what I had said as well, bringing in a 9 or a playmaker, at least a 10, would help a team that is organized, that really maybe been the surprise of the tournament so far, if you really look at it, with the players they have, the effectiveness that they've been able to do things with. That's a team that I'm looking at really benefited from this summer window. And then the pumpkin that struck midnight, which is Minnesota United. I told you about this team. I thought that they were overperforming. I thought that it was going to, at some point, that enchantment of surprise was going to all come to an end, and it did. Now, Arriaga's leaving. You got to figure out, you got some DP spots open. So that's a team that it's going to need to really do some hard work, maybe even think about bringing more quantity instead of quality and fill in some of these holes, because if Minnesota continues to go on this path with the roster they have, they're not going to make the playoffs. And as much as I know that they were going to be that head scratcher, and I told you guys that, they really need some huge talent boost in order to just keep up in the Western Conference.
So then what's going on with you up in Seattle with all of the chaos that's been happening off the field? What's the update on where things stand about players who were left out, who were coaches' decisions, not suspended, but coaches' decisions for not being a part of the active roster last time out? What's the update up there?
Well, both players were back. Nuhu and Raul Ruidiaz were at training. A very short answered Brian Smetzer said, they're back. We're good. They played well. I asked him, and I was hoping he gave me a better answer, but I wanted to know, was it worth it? Did you get what you needed out of sitting these 2 guys? He said, yes, I did. Move on. So we didn't get much from Brian, but so far, so good. It sounded per a couple of sources that they were both standouts in practice. I'm sure they have a chip on their shoulders. But again, you're dealing with fire. There's a fine line between pushing a player and put him a chip on his shoulder and chaos and creating some gaps within a locker room that has had a lot of question marks over the last couple of seasons. But to your question, both players were back. Pedro de la Vega was full on training, looks really good. He himself was not happy with his performance. His 15, 20 minutes of play in the last game. I like that. I like the fact that he holds himself accountable, but they're going to have to get that rust off real quick because that game against Chicago was far from perfect. It was an awful first half against a bad team. Look, I get that they have quality players, but Seattle should not be having these sort of problems with a team like Chicago, especially if your thought is that they're going to go anywhere in the MLS playoffs. So they got to figure it out. The good thing for Seattle, Albert Rusnak, I have to give him credit. He has stuck out his chest to criticism. He's taking it and he's performing. He never tried to move away from what people were saying, criticizing. He's had confidence. He feels like he's done well all season, but now he's been able to show it in the stats, show it with assists, show it with goals. I understand it was 2 PKs, but sometimes it's hard to take 2 PKs back to back. And that's how you end up winning that game. And it was Albert the one who did that. So I thought Albert has been good. I think JP is getting closer to that MVP finalist form that we've seen in the past from JP. He seems like he's really getting his form back, physicality, distribution, mid-range shots. So those are things that are good for Seattle. Individual players are starting to play up to their potential, and that could be a boost. Am I saying that I'm ready to tell you that this team is going to go on a streak and a row of games of where they're going to be unstoppable? Absolutely not. I still have my doubts. I still think that there's a lack of consistency game to game. You cannot have, and I've said it 1,000 times, 15 minutes of great play, 90 minutes of great play, and not be able to translate that into the next game. I think having consistency is key. Now they're going to be hosting a New England Revolution team that has had ups and downs. They've looked really good. They've looked really bad. Obviously, no Carlos Hill last game. Don't really know if he'll be there in this one. So that's going to be a big factor on how good or how difficult this team can be. So we all knew that in this stretch of games that Seattle was going to have at home, they were going to have some, quote unquote, easy games. They've done the job of getting those points. But again, what's the end game? Where do you feel like the expectation for Seattle is? Is it just making the playoffs? Because if that's your expectation and that's what you wanted, I think they'll get there. But if it is making a run in those playoffs, then I feel like they have a long way to go. Another thing right here for those of you that maybe are not within the scene of Seattle, they have a pretty big game at Sacramento Republic for Open Cup. It gives them a chance to, if they win, they would host LAFC at home. That's pretty big. So whether it's LAFC going to Starfire, because they're going to have to go to Starfire, it's going to be pretty funny watching Hugo Lloris and Buanga and I don't know, maybe Giroud being in a semifinal of Open Cup at Starfire, which if you haven't been, it's a pretty rustic stadium, very small, very narrow. Locker rooms are not, your English Premier type.
It ain't Lumen Field, brother. That's one thing.
It is not Lumen Field, and apparently there's a concert at Lumen Field. Metallica's going to be at Lumen Field. So there is no way that you're going to be able to play at Lumen. So I talked to Jeremiah O'Shan. He told me that there was they had to put in a waiver to play at Starfire because the expectation was that they were going to play that game if they got to play that game at Lumen Field. So it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks for this team. I've said it before. I feel like the best scenario for this Sounders team is putting all your eggs in the Open Cup basket, hoping to get a title. Is a couple of games and you're in the final. That's going to be the way to kind of save the season. But they haven't quite given up on MLS, and I feel like they're doing enough to stay relevant.
Jarrett with Niko, go for it.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you about a team we talked about a minute ago in Colorado, and it's taken them a little bit of time this year to get this project off the ground, but they're finding traction, I guess, for lack of a better word. Can this be an example for some other clubs in the United States, maybe elsewhere, of if you are feeling rudderless, get a plan, spend some money, and be patient with it and see what you can develop instead of panicking and just throwing out the bathwater almost instantaneously when it doesn't work in the first 2 months?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And, Colorado, they've had some inconsistencies of their own. I mean, you look at that hat trick game by Bogut's will tell you that, they've had some issues. I thought that their Houston game a couple of weeks ago was also pretty bad. So Colorado at least has shown you that if you are willing to invest in the team, invest in a head coach that has an ideology, and like you said, Jared, I can manage to understand that there's going to be a learning curve and you might run into some difficult games and some moments where you feel like nothing's really working, as we did earlier this season and as we have here in a couple of games. Having those investments and bringing those players that are also cohesive with the ideology of the coach can turn a team around. I don't think Colorado has been as interesting as they have this season in a very, very, very long time, even when they've had, good coaches like Frazier. I think he's a great coach. But I think this year there's better quality, there's talent, they're exciting to watch, and they seem to be, at least for the most part, in every game. They're not going to get played out of the field. Maybe they did against LAFC, but that just happens. But in terms of your question, I think that a lot of teams should take that into consideration. Nashville, maybe, go and spend some money and figure things out. San Jose, you too, I'm talking to you.
Good luck on that, brother.
You awful, terrible market. And stop, letting go of coaches when you're not giving them, what to play with. It's just so funny to me that the easiest thing to do is to let go of a coach, but nobody's going to be able to get your team right if you don't have enough talent.
Well, strange, when your owner also owns the Oakland A's, and we know the level of investment that he's showing there, moving them to Sacramento. Cliffhanger, we're going to kind of shorten a little bit. There's one game that I want, because there are interesting matchups, but not really one that we can sit there and lay out. But cliffhanger this week is El Tráfico on July 4th. It is the late game, 10:30 Eastern time from the Rose Bowl in front of 9 gazillion people. LAG is a plus 183. Draws a plus 286. LAFC is a plus 125. El Tráfico, Niko, what say you?
Woo, that's a good one, man. That's, I love that 4th of July El Tráfico. I think that's fun. Both teams have been on a row. LAFC, 11 straight games with wins, if you count Open Cup games. They have been really dangerous and effective on the attacking end. 14 goals in their last 5 games. I feel like Dennis Bouanga has grown into this distributor and volume creator that is going to be real difficult for LAG to kind of hold on to. But LAG is no slough, and they are going to be in there for vibes. I mean, Ricky will be back. Ricky is the guy that's willing to be that villain, El Payaso. he kind of embodies these sort of games. So seeing him probably start this game is going to be interesting, regardless of how good Fagundes has been and how maybe structurally sound the LA Galaxy have looked with Fagundes running the show. But I feel like Ricky, this is what you brought Ricky for. This is what Ricky is supposed to do, is come up with these big games. So in terms of the juice boxes, man, regardless of their last game being 2-1, I am going to go, and I want you to tell me what the over-under is on the goals.
Got it.
But I'm going to go with LAFC. I think LAFC is going to – they're going to continue their ability to play against the ball, their ability to just kind of adapt to different games. I think Atuesta was a huge home run for this team. He's really helped out Ilya Sanchez. I feel like he's given him a lot of balance and a little bit more of a hold-up play, and a guy that really brings out the ball clearly from the back end. So with Bogart's current form and Bouanga, I feel like they're going to give LAG some real trouble. I see this as a 3-2 win for the LAFC.
Okay, so then if you see it as a 3-2 win and getting LAFC on the plus side, that's always a good thing to start off. You get LAFC on the plus. Since you're saying 3-2, 4.5 is a plus 243.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Give me the 4.5 and give me LAFC. We're gonna let our money roll. Last week we went with the goals for Columbus, and we picked Columbus. That was a 5-1 win. We did pretty good on that one. So we're gonna let that roll. We're gonna stick with the goals. We're gonna go ahead and go with a big goal game in this El Tráfico 4th of July at Rose Bowl. I think it's going to be an exciting game. So absolutely, let's go for that.
All right. So what's going on with Pulso Sports and Soccer Bar, my friend?
All right, Pulso Sports, you'll find what we talked about yesterday with Brian Smetzer. Gives us a real rundown on what's going on, what he expects. Obviously, Javier Arriaga's coming back to Seattle, so that's fun. A player that was out here for a very long time, that was a good player for the team, per Brian Smetzer, but that was a little bit in the doghouse, that was kind of benched. So he's going to come in with some feels, in my opinion. He's going to want to maybe get a goal or get a pass to a goal from his center back position. So you can find that at Pulso Sports, as well as Paul Rothrock. We got to talk to Paul. If you have not heard about the Paul Rothrock experience, then you need to check it out, man. He is fun. He is a guy, I asked him myself, how does it feel to be that guy that when things are not going right for Seattle, you pull that lever, there you go, you shoot out of a cannon, and you just have a great game. And he does. He brings a lot of excitement, energy, press, push. He's pumping up the crowd. He basically forces a PK to get Seattle back on track against Chicago. He did that against Houston. He's got on the scoreboard. So check him out, man. It's a fun conversation with Paul Rothrock, a guy that doesn't lack confidence, but is also not overconfident. That's a tough balance for a guy his age. It's a real fun one. So go ahead and check that out at Pulso Sports. Soccer Bar. No soccer bar this week for 4th of July. We tried to get one in early like you did today on a Wednesday, but we weren't able to do it. So you're going to have to wait till Monday to get our takes on Copa America, MLS, how things played out. So, yeah, check it out.
All right. As always, my friend, thanks for dropping in a day early. Enjoy your 4th. May it be safe. Enjoy the matchups on a double match weekend, and we'll catch up with you again next Thursday after Open Cup, after schedule compression, and leading into yet another weekend here in a very, very busy July. Thank you, my friend. We'll catch up next week.
All righty, guys. Have a good one.
All right. That's Niko Moreno, Pulso Sports and the Soccer Bar, and he's getting his second cup of coffee. He's ready to go. Okay, so Uncle has said, no Carlos Gil tonight. Here's the injury report for New England Revolution. Shankali is out for the season, knee injury. Nacho Gil is out with a knee. We know that Carlos Gil has the ever nebulous Stanley Cup final lower body injury designation, so he is out as well. Henrik Ravis is still on international duty. Questionable, listed by the Revs in the injury report on MLS Soccer's website. Did not see anything updated in the match release from the Revs. Dylan Barrero with a hip. Tommy McNamara with a hamstring, Peyton Miller with a thigh, Ryan Spalding with a hamstring, Bobby Wood with a calf. That's a lot of muscle injuries. So it will be intriguing to see how New England stacks up here and how it's going to look for them in this matchup going up against Atlanta United, because they, in turn, once again, you heard Niko mention it, is that after this match, they have to turn around and go to Seattle and take on the Sounders. And they get Seattle, by the way, they get Seattle on Sunday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because hang on just a second, because the odds changed and so did the page. No, they're the late game on Saturday. So basically, here's how it is for New England. New England right now in the juice boxes tonight. We'll go over the juice boxes here. And I know we're going long this morning because there's more to talk about. Juice boxes for the matchup tonight. Pre-game show on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app, I believe 6:30. 7:45 is the listed start time for this particular matchup with Atlanta United and New England. And so that to me means that it sounds like it might be a free TV scheduled match tonight. Hang on. So, yeah, free TV and FS1. So it is the FS1 game listed at 7:45. So it might be the Super Hyper Mega pregame show and a 7:55 kick. But keep an eye out for it. So 6:30 pregame, 92.9 in the Odyssey app. Abe and Garrett will have you started there. Mike and Jason will have the call from Gillette in Foxborough. It's on the free side of Apple TV and on FS1. So it is the FS1 match at 7:45. So that's your programming reminder. And then obviously they'll have full-time report after, as Mike and Jason try to get out of town and head to Salt Lake, and Abe and Garrett will have the post-game show for you. But 6:30 start for the pregame, 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app, and 7:45 listing on the website, which to me kind of means it might be 7:55, but keep an eye out for the Super Hyper Mega pregame show tonight on FS1 and on the free side of Apple TV with New England and Atlanta. We'll go over the refs in just a little bit. But for Atlanta, the only players listed as out, Edwin and Jamal. So Edwin and Jamal are the only ones listed. And let me double check and see if folks are mentioning anything about travel parties and such. And we'll see if we have any other thing going on. Like I said, I'm checking quickly to see if Doug had anything, and it appears that we do not have any kind of update at the moment about traveling parties and such. So we will see what traveling parties look like and all of that. So yes, thank you, David. Yep, the boss is walking, but at least she's in L, so she's going to have an early start. She's in the walking group that's attached to the track club. I just want her to get through safely. And for anybody who's doing the race tomorrow, please hydrate appropriately. Do not overhydrate, as Nick has said. Hydrate wisely. I'm bringing a towel and bananas and another hydration for the boss at the halfway point. I meet her at Heartbreak Hill and give her the appropriate materials to get her through the second half of the race. So do not know about traveling parties right now involving Atlanta United. Keep an eye on social media and see what it may look like in this match. Because remember, after this match for Atlanta United, you're heading west to go to RSL. Here's your juice boxes for tonight. Crew and Nashville. Crew are a minus 204. Welcome to the BJ Callahan administration. Draws a plus 359. Nashville's north of plus 500. 6:30 today, by the way. And so that to me is also intriguing, and that's on season pass. So it is a 6:30 start tonight. Very, very interesting there in Columbus at the Death Star. Also on the board with your fixtures, Charlotte and Messi and Friends. So it's just and Friends. And Friends are a plus 225 in Charlotte tonight. Draws a plus 263. Charlotte is a plus 112. Christian Kalina, to me, is, I think, the largest all-star oversight instead of Roman Berkey. 7:30 or 7:40. DC United hosting FC Cincinnati. FC Cincinnati is a plus 143. Draws a plus 262. DC United a plus 174. NYC is a minus 263 hosting Montreal. Montreal is north of plus 600. Your draw is a plus 426. For the record, that matchup is at Citi Field. It is not at Yankee Stadium. So you'll get really weird camera angles as you watch that one on MLS Season Pass. All these matches are on Season Pass as we designate, unless we tell you otherwise. Also on the board at 7:30, Toronto and the purple team. Toronto's a plus 133. Your draw is a plus 270. And the purple team are a plus 181. 7:45, we mentioned that this one is the FS1 and on the free side of Apple TV, so don't be surprised if it's a 7:55 kick. Revs are a plus 121. Atlanta's north of plus 205. Draws a plus 265. 8:30, Union at Chicago. Chicago's actually favored at a plus 106. Draws a plus 273. Philadelphia is a plus 235. Minnesota United, plus 119. Vancouver is a plus 200 on the road at Allianz. Draws a plus 277. Also at 8:30 at City Park. St. Louis City with their interim coach, not named Bradley Carnell, is favored at a minus 122 as San Jose comes to town just under a plus 300 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Draws a plus 305. RSL hosting the Dynamo. That one's at 9:30, and that's the other thing for RSL. Both of these matches in this quick turn are at home. RSL is a minus 132. Draws a plus 300. Dynamo are a plus 324. Tomorrow, FC Dallas at 8. It's 8:30, 9:30, and 10:30 Eastern. 8:30, FC Dallas hosting Portland at a plus 121. Portland's a plus 200. Draws a plus 271. Colorado at home hosting Sporting. Sporting north of plus 400. Draws a plus 338. Colorado a minus 172. And El Tráfico, we mentioned that LAFC plus 125 on the road to the Rose Bowl. LAG's a plus 183 and draws a plus 286. So that's your juice box numbers for the matchups today and tomorrow. Remember, no show tomorrow live. We're going to do the high school showcase tomorrow all day. Set your notifications. It's probably going to be 9/12/3/6/9 when we release a lot of the greatest hits from the matches that we got to call this season on the SDH network, brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. Kaiser Permanente, for all that is you. Thanks to Kaiser Permanente for all of their support across all levels here with the SDH network. Thanks to our friends at Alliance Nurse Corps, who are always over my left shoulder when it comes to helping us out here at the SDH network. And if you want to pursue nursing as perhaps the next job for you, right there, hit the QR code. And when they ask you about it with our friends at Alliance Nurse Corps, sit there and say, how'd you hear about us? You say soccer down here. So Alliance Nurse Corps, over 30 years of experience helping folks find their new career, core resource for healthcare staffing, our friends at Alliance Nurse Corps. We got broadcast crews and ref assignments. We'll go through that before we go. And also we'll get through the schedule and the fixture list. So everything is on season pass except for Toronto and the purple team. That's on the free side of Apple TV. Mentioned New England and Atlanta's on the free side of Apple TV. Everything else is on season pass all the way through. Pre-game show on Apple from El Tráfico starts at 10 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow night. Ref assignments. Columbus Crew in Nashville. Joe Dickerson is in the middle. JC Rivero is your VAR. Keep an eye on Columbus and Nashville just because. Charlotte and Messi and Friends. Rubiel Vasquez is in the middle. Sergei Demyanchuk is your fourth. Soren Stoichka is your VAR. DC and FC Cincinnati. Alexis De Silva is in the middle. Izmir Pekmic is your fourth. Rosendo Mendoza is your VAR. NYC and Montreal. Marcus de Oliveira, who was in Atlanta this past week, is your man in the middle. Chris Penso is your fourth. Fotis Bazakis is your VAR. Toronto and the purple team. Mark Allerton is the man in the middle. Philip Dujic, your fourth. Jorge Gonzalez, your VAR. Jair Marufo is in the middle for the Reds in Atlanta. It is Ian McKay, Matthew Nelson, your ARs. Guido Gonzalez Jr. is your fourth. Daniel Radford, your VAR. Tom Supple is your AVAR. Fire and Union. Abdu Njai is the man in the middle. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't Denjai the one that was actually helping players up in Open Cup? Lucas Zapala is your fourth. Yunus Marakchi is your VAR. Minnesota, Vancouver, Victor Rivas in the middle. Kevin Terry Jr., your VAR. St. Louis City and San Jose, Malik Badawi in the middle. John Freeman, your fourth. Alejandro Mariscal, your VAR. RSL and Houston, Alan Chapman in the middle. JC Rivera, your VAR. So Juan Carlos Rivero is doing the daily double today in VAR, starting with crew in Nashville, and he's the one that is doing Real Salt Lake and Houston, the day-night doubleheader for VAR. July 4th, Rosendo Mendoza is in the middle for Dallas and Portland. Daniel Radford's your VAR. Colorado and Sporting, Sergi Boyko in the middle. Matt Thompson, your fourth. Soren Stoichka is your VAR. Drew Fisher has drawn El Trafico. Timothy Ford is your fourth. Fotis Bazakos is your VAR. Craig Lowry is your AVAR. So that is your assignments for refs, for reffing down here as we get you ready for the matchups this weekend. Your broadcast crews for all of the activity. We'll get the gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we get out of here. And like I said, I figured that we'd be going long this morning because of everything that has been happening with all the activity today. So let's see. Player status report from Major League Soccer, once again, no different from what we were reporting with the two players for Atlanta. They added Carlos Gil as out. So from Major League Soccer updated yesterday, out, Shankalai, Carlos Nacho Gil, Peyton Miller, Emmanuel Boateng is questionable, Dylan Barrero, Mark Anthony Kaye, Tommy McNamara, Bobby Wood, all questionable. So that's your updated report for the Revs coming up tonight against Atlanta United. Broadcast crews in this particular case, I was looking for. Okay, here we go. Kanji and Danny are doing Columbus and Nashville. Keith Costigan, Lori Lindsay are doing Charlotte and Messi and Friends. Callum and Kalen, DC and FC Cincinnati. Neil Sika, Lloyd Sam, NYC and Montreal. Joe Tollison, Greg Sutton doing Toronto and the Purple Team. Tony Husband and Ross Smith are doing Atlanta United at New England. Krakauer and Jaleel Anibaba are doing Chicago and Philly. Tyler and Kendra gets a home game. She gets to call Minnesota and Vancouver. It is Nate McCady and Brian McBride for All Caps and San Jose. Max and Dunny. So Dunny gets a home game calling Real Salt Lake and Houston. Mark Followell, Warren Barton, who has made the trek apparently from one end of the planet to the other, calling the Euros with Jackie Oatley, catching a plane, coming back, and is calling FC Dallas and Portland on Thursday. So I guess he could still be in transit. So he's heading from the Euros from Germany to Dallas for Mark Followell, Warren Barton, FC Dallas and Portland. And Rogo and Heath Pierce are calling Colorado and Sporting. And, of course, Jake and TT are calling El Trafico. So those are your announcements for your match days and your announcements on your reffing crews. And that should get you ready for July 3rd and July 4th. We figured we'd be going long this morning because of all the info. So, once again, high school showcase tomorrow all day long in the network. Set your notifications. A lot of great action from the high school season and some fantastic endings and just absolute craziness. We're leading off with Johnson, Gainesville, and Gainesville. That's why. So that's Thursday. We're going to have our summer of soccer programming. We're going to catch up with coaches on Friday and get you ready for all of the action in the six-pack of leagues there. Of course, I can't say six-pack because it's stuff with the MLS six-pack. And if you've missed that, go back on the network and listen to Jason and Jess calling the MLS six-pack and showing you what's going on through their prism with Major League Soccer. Don't miss that on the network. That is required listening. Then on Friday, we're going to catch up in lower divisions. We're going to find out about what's going on in the USLW League because their first round of the playoffs is Friday. And we're going to catch up with our friends from Tennessee SC, tracking down Asheville City as well. 9 o'clock hour look like it's going to be the weekend whip around, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully rather than later. Jason should be set to join us somewhere in transit, unless it's way too early in the morning, and joining us from Salt Lake City, hopefully. Travel dependent there on Friday. Catching up with Logan Fisher, the head coach at Tennessee SC, catching up with the head coach at Asheville City as well. Jonathan Mercado, the head coach at Apotheos set to join us at 10:30 Friday morning to talk about their matchup to wrap up the regular season in the NPSL Southeast. Big matchup for them when it comes to placement and playoffs and all that kind of stuff. And so that'll be, in addition to the preview and everything, that'll be Friday. So thanks to Tyler. Thanks to Nino. Thanks to Niko. Thanks to Jarrett. And thanks to you for being a part of everything here on July 3rd. Once again, tomorrow, it's the high school showcase. Back at it again, 9:05 on Friday morning, and we'll walk through and get you ready for the weekend, talk about what happened with Atlanta United, now we're number 1, get you ready for everything in Major League Soccer and everything else moving forward. So for everybody here, Abby, she's got the right frame of mind. 3 points tonight with her fingers crossed. So for everybody here at SDH, thanks for dropping by, as you always do. We'll be back in a little less than 48. So 2.5, so 45.5 hours we'll be back, and we'll be dropping everything to let you know what's going on in and around the world of Major League Soccer. Make sure that you keep an eye on your pets tomorrow and make sure that they are protected from the fireworks, because people have a tendency to be a little stupid when it comes to fireworks and not understanding that pets are a little squeamish about these kinds of things. One thing I learned is that apparently dog hearing is 4 times more sensitive than that of a human. So if you hear something at if you hear something at 20 feet away, they hear it from 80 feet away. So they're 4 times more sensitive with their hearing. So that's understanding as to why they can be a little skittish. Be there for your pets, distract them, be cool yourself, be calm yourself, and maybe turn up the TV a little bit and help distract them from the situation, except when they have to go outside and do their business. So keep an eye on your pets, keep an eye on yourselves, be safe. Weather here in the Southeast is going to be absolutely stupid. And for everybody that is going to be doing the Peachtree Road Race or your favorite road races in your part of the country, just be safe, get through it in one piece, and celebrate the July 3rd and July 4th weekend, beginning of the weekend, as you always do. So be safe, everybody. Play it safe. Mucha platiel. Since it's the end of the show, that means I put up a banner and I get to whistle us to a close. So we'll be back at it again on Friday morning. Enjoy the matches tonight. We'll talk about it once again at the end of the week. So here we go.